Hello, first grade. Today we're making pattern winter hats. So here's my example. We're going to really think about all the projects we did before this one, where we drew lines on our line owls, how we've made texture with texture monsters, and we're bringing it all together in this. So let's begin. For today, what you're going to need is a blank sheet of paper. You're going to need markers, crayons, or any coloring supplies that you have available, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. That's all you need. So before we even get started, the biggest part of this project is understanding what patterns are. And patterns are these stripes that I drew. A pattern is anything that repeats. So I have some shapes that repeat. I have colors that repeat, so green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, blue. I have these different shapes up here that repeat, so you can either use lines, shapes, or colors to repeat in these patterns. I want you guys, when we draw our hat together, to think of using 5 different patterns. Here is an actual hat that I have. So some of our inspiration on Seesaw, I have linked a read-along book about hats, and that's our inspiration. We're talking all about hats. And that book is called Do You Have a Hat? And it talks about all sorts of different hats and why certain people will wear these hats. This example in front of me, I have some stripes that go long ways. We also call that horizontal. And these different stitches, it's kind of a classic looking winter hat. Has lines that go up and down, some blank lines, almost look like there's polka dots on it, and then these lines on the bottom. I am pretty sure that you guys might have seen different hats like this. You might even have one at home. That's our inspiration for today. As we get closer into winter, we start to be more familiar with these winter hats. Hats that keep us warm when we go outside and play in the snow. So, like usual, friends, I want you to draw along with me in pencil, but I'm going to use markers so you can see the lines that I draw. Our first step for our winter hat project is we need to be able to draw the shape of our hat. So if I'm looking at my entire paper, I want to draw it big because when you turn it in, you're going to be wearing this crazy hat. So you can't have it super, super small because your head isn't that big. If you have a pretty decent sized head, it's going to need to be as big as this paper. So my first step when I draw my big hat, I want to make the bottom kind of a fluffy texture. So I start to almost make a cloud on the very bottom of my page. Remember how we worked with texture in that last lesson? We talked all about monsters and how that would look if we touched the monsters. Would it be fluffy, scaly, slimy, or anything like that? Well, this is going to be similar. We want it to be fluffy because when you wear a winter hat, you want to be warm and cozy. So that bottom long cloud, we want it to be fluffy with that curvy line. Our next line is going to be a rainbow line. It's going to go all the way up and back down. We also call this an arch line. So I go all the way up and then back down again. So all the way up, around, and back down again. And our last detail for drawing our hat is the top puffball. It looks just like another fluffy pom-pom on the very top of the head. I'm going to add some more fluff over here. Maybe make it a little bit fluffier by doing some of those curvy lines. And there is my hat. So now let's talk about those patterns. We already know that patterns repeat, whether they're with shapes, colors, or lines. So let's first draw sections for our pattern stripes. I want at least 5, so I'm making enough lines to fill up the whole hat. I'm going to stop right down here. So this is much more than 5. But you'll see, these are so fun. They go by nice and easy. If you make more than 5, that's awesome. For this, I'm going to switch to my color markers. but you can stick to pencil if you'd like. A couple examples of patterns is you can choose any shape you'd like. Maybe for my first one, I'll start up here. I want to do the shape of a square. And I keep on making that same square all the way across that pattern stripe, all the way to the edge. And if I want to do a different color, I can do that with crayon or when I color later. Another one you can do are lines that go up and down, or you can do lines like I did over here that are long ways or horizontal. The lines that I'm creating right now we call vertical lines because they go up and down. If you want, you can maybe make symbols, maybe some of your favorite things. I know a lot of friends like Pokemon, so I could make some circles and make these circles into little Pokeballs. And I do that by drawing a circle, a baby circle in the middle, and a long line on either side. Some other ones can be X's if you like. They kind of turn into diamonds when you put X's close together. I want you to create your own patterns. Think of what you like the most of what I showed you, or create completely new ones. All right, now that I drew with my marker all of my patterns, I need to color it in. First grade, we've been doing such a good job of focusing on coloring all of our spaces. So what I did was I filled in all of my stripes, so there are no white spaces. But I did leave white space in my puff balls because I want my puff balls to look like white fluff. That's up to you. If you want your hat to have blue fluff, you're going to want to color the bottom cloud we drew in this shape blue and that pom-pom. These are all going to look unique to your hat. So go ahead and take this time to color in all of those white spaces. One of our last steps to do before we turn in our finished hat is when it's all colored in, no white spots, unless you have some white spots that are intentional or are there on purpose, it's time to take a pair of scissors and cut out our hat. So I take my paper, and just like when we cut out our owl, we have to go nice and slow. I hold my paper in one hand and I have my scissors in the other hand. And I make sure that my scissors are hugging the lines, and I'm going so very slowly. These lumps are the fluffy bottom and top to the hat. We need to go nice and slow because we don't want to chop off any of those bumps. I'm moving my paper more than I'm moving my scissors to kind of help out my scissors. If you see that you have a tail of paper that you want to get rid of, all I do is I give it a chop, chop, and I'll throw that away when I'm done cutting everything out. Gotta go up. Readjust my hand. And again, I go so slow around these puff lines, these puffy, fluffy lines. All right, and when we're done, I'll throw these scraps away. And now I have my silly winter hat. When it's time to turn these in, go ahead and take your hat, put it on your head, just like if you were wearing a hat. Whoop. Here, let's see if we can show Miss Angie. And this just means holding up your hat on your forehead, looking as if you are wearing a real hat. So it gets into the fun, festive winter spirit. Well, friends, I had so much fun creating with you. I can't wait to see your finished product.